Welcome to the Bioinformatics podcast. Here we are in sunny Vancouver, just after GMI. And as you can see, we're approaching our first. And with the beautiful scenery behind us, now you may have to stop at some point, when planes take off. They're very, very noisy, these PC planes.
Yeah. And so I guess it's our first IRL podcast. So hanging questions from previous episodes. You are in fact real, not AI.
I am actually.
Yeah. And wrapping up. So we are a day removed from the last session of GMI. Great 2.5-day meeting. Well organized and run by Will and Emma Griffith. Whole host of topics. Kind of curious even on your first kind of immediate feedback, takeaways from what just happened in the past couple of days.
Well, Global Microbial Identifier, this is the 13th iteration that was found about 12 years ago, I think. And they had a few, nursery years, multiple times a year, but this one is the first one, 2019?
I believe so. I think in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, obviously some stuff happened in between, we all know about that. We don't need to go over it. But, we're still facing similar challenges even to this day,
Absolutely. And I think that with GMI, a lot of the intent was to focus on these main challenges and bioinformatics implementation for public health, a lot of which is focusing around data sharing. And that was kind of the topics discussed. So some of the same topics that they were discussing in 2019 still persist today. But I think a big thing, at least on my takeaway, was that there's also a lot of solutions that are now have matured over the past couple of years. And we're seeing successful implementation from, some of the folks in MDU across Australia and everything that kind of encompasses that huge conglomerate of an academic and public health government collaboration under Ben Howden there, presented by Thorson. Also in Canada with IRIDA that was presented by Gary. And then some of the work that we are involved in as well with respect to Terra, DocStore, and its implementation across Southeast Asia. So there was, as much as the challenge we stared at, it was kind of frustrating looking at those same challenges for as long as we were looking at those same challenges. There's an aspect of, all right, there's a new rung to the ladder of progress, and we're watching things kind of in some way mature towards similar practices. I felt that same way.
Yeah, I mean, it seems so easy, like sharing data. Oh, just make it all public. But, actually, it's hard because you can't make everything public. There's different laws, different countries, there's different things you need to restrict it, different ways you need to do it. And everyone approaches differently. If it's only want to share like the absolute minimum, say CGM must be allele, nothing else, or give away everything. And then, of course, and political private data, which you really don't want to get out there, and identify people accidentally. And it's a challenge. So it is nice that things are moving. People are talking, they're trying to have global action. See, Page, actually, a big thing. Obviously, the organizers are helping. So, kind of get paid about fragmentation, trying to get a global solution rather than everyone, doing their own thing.
That was good to see. I'm glad there was a lot of overlap. I mean, there's obviously a lot of overlap with a lot of these different initiatives like GMI, Page, and the like. So it's kind of nice to get all in the same room to some degree and figure out what the overlap is and what are the redundant efforts that maybe we need to avoid as well. So we can kind of have a cohesive plan forward without too much duplication of tasks and because I think if you're outside of the, it feels as if it's competing, but really it's all meant to be collaborative and in the same line. So I think that was important, especially the strategy meeting that Ruth, Josefina, and Emma were all a part of it.
It was nice you had all the big players, you had people from the major archives like NCBI and EBI there, big and then you had, the major suppliers of data, so CDC, FDA, you had Canadian Public Health Lab, you had, just all the people you really wanted around, the people most passionate about data sharing, about solving these issues and coming together, rather than things away like Garo. It's about just sharing and making best use because, when you get an outbreak of something, particularly in food, it can affect the country very, very rapidly because of our complex food chain. And you do need to know that what you have here and causing problems also in 5 other countries, where you can find a common links. It's so hard, like with the well-traveled salad.
The famous slide of the well-traveled salad. Yeah, I mean, that's why these global meetings are always so powerful because it's an interconnected community. There is no them. There's no borders for the infection. I think it's really important to see these kinds of meetings, bring people from all over the world to discuss these same challenges, impact us all. Again, the Asia Pacific representation is amazing, especially the ability to Pulse International, and fortunate enough to be a part of that. And what was also amazing about this conference is, as always, you just see people in person.
Big term, yeah. We've also had so many virtual meetings in the past few years, and virtual conferences are grand, but it's not the same meeting someone and actually spending time with them, and you can see the body like see exactly what they're thinking in a different way, and get a real sense of are they just giving you platitudes, or are they actually, this is truly panic ways. And it's nice. And it's been and we're here and wait a second, no, we're just landed, friend. Yeah, so we had to take a break there for a plane landing. As you do, in the middle of the city. Anyway, Vancouver is lovely. Like, and it's a great venue for it.
And that was an important part. I think that Emma and Will did a great job integrating this regional practices into the conference, from the sort of land acknowledgement from the beginning, and in the respect for the First Nations, and even having a dedicated session from First Nations representatives to talk about data sovereignty.
I find that very fascinating because, each country has different things, different issues. And that was just eye-opening, just the way people were thinking about it. Particularly because, we collect samples of pathogens in public health. Often you don't need consent because it's of greater importance to the population. But actually the issues involved, when you have these marginalized communities who've been historically persecuted, and then, if you get a sample from that area, you absolutely know it's going to be from a First Nations group. And so you have to be so careful with metadata and release and getting permissions when you do research, or public health as well, because what you don't want is going, oh yeah, they're the disease carrying, guilty people. Totally untrue. It's, so yeah, you have to be so careful in different contexts. I guess in UK context, there are more marginalized communities, and they are protected by law as well, but there are different communities. Is that the same in the US?
Definitely. But again, the regional specificity of how it's treated here with the First Nations population is definitely something we can work way more on in the US. It's not to that same degree. I don't think there's a lot I think the US population can learn from the Canadians in the way that they really have those opening land acknowledgements to respect the peoples of this area in the way, to acknowledge even the historic atrocities that have happened to these peoples, and in some way try to ensure that these people are really included into the discussions we're having that do impact their communities pretty explicitly.
And I really like to talk with people actually working with First Nations on their data and data governance and data protection. Like, that's absolutely critical to our discussion because, on the one hand, we're saying, oh, share everything.
Yeah.
And then the other hand, it's like, well, this actually has real world implications. People who are marginalized and persecuted, and it's from a level playing field. We need sensible ways of sharing data that don't harm, and while also protecting the population. And it's a balancing act, and it is good to have both people.
I think that was a big thing. I think that was well represented at the conference. It's different voices, different opinions, and different ways to approach the same problem. I think, again, in looking at all the technical progress, this is something I would Joel, that the technical challenges are insignificant relative to the policy procedure. Yeah, because that's the main bottleneck. I mean, is ensuring we're invoking a policy that is appropriate to everybody involved there. So to do that, you need that common form of communication that's represented, respected, and then ultimately informed. So I think we're seeing that.
Yeah, I think someone did mention that they wish they'd started the kind of governance bit first because that took so long compared to technical. As computer scientists and developers, we think, oh yeah, well, that's an easy problem. It's a database and a website or whatever. But actually, it's the getting a lot of different people up the board moving center and solving those kind of complex human challenges.
Yeah,
that's so much harder.
So that was a major topic, and I'm curious if you want to relay some of the talks you were involved in, collaborations you were having with Lebanon and LMIC, HIC.
So I was, during the pandemic, obviously, I was working on that, and we had collaboration with the Lebanon. And so we gave joint talk. Seema gave a talk on, from the Lebanese American University, on her work on SARS-CoV-2 and it's available in the country. And then I gave the second half talk because we enjoyed working on this. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get the sequence they could be, even though they had the sequencers, they had the people, they had the labs. It was just that final hurdle. So what my Martha did was got some money, and we did a load of things, sort of like 900 samples, which 10-fold increase over samples for a country at that time. And of course, we released it all publicly with the consent, on GenBank and ENA for the raw data. And it's nice because it uncovered different patterns that people, weren't necessarily aware of because, surveillance for higher depth. Whereas previously they were doing surveillance they could get, which is not equal, Did you know that another country does 5 times more than in America?
I have heard that stat. I'm always continuously surprised at why that even is a thing, but that's a truth throughout most parts of the world. And I'm trying to get these kinds of
it's crazy. Like the people,
it's a crazy multiple, absolutely insane multiple.
No, we gave a joint talk there, and it was nice because we all face similar challenges. Like together with can actually work with
your leadership bar. That is making how many times? More. All right.
Anyway, that was crucial. That's amazing. I think, I think we're going to cut it there because it's a bit noisy at the moment, but it's been great to actually have one day thought.
Yeah,
person, absolutely. Because it's very different discussing it in person than
Wait, we got a bit of quiet window. So kind of, is there anything that you was surprising or you learned throughout this? Like a major takeaway that she conveyed back from GMI?
Data sharing hard. And it's not a solved problem. And it's going to be something we're going to struggle with for a long time. And if we don't fix it or we don't address it, then we're just going to end up with data locked away, silos that no one can access, and that damages everyone.
I concur completely. And I think my major takeaway isn't necessarily a lesson learned, but a sort of doubling down on something that is up again. And something you mentioned as a recommendation at your talk is a lot of the value of these conferences is meeting people in person, going out for drinks, for dinner, or whatever it is, to just kind of get to know people on a human level, because it really kind of reiterates that this is a community of practitioners that are all trying to solve this problem, as opposed to just drones on the computer screen that you see through. So I thought that this was a great conference. Very glad we attended. I got to present a lot of our work, got to learn a lot about what's going on through the community, and then kind of part in those relationships with people that we work with and continue to work with throughout our careers.
And that's so we'll call it a day there.
All right.